being able to do the entire project and from start to finish in all aspects truly gave us the ability to dream big and to be able to accomplish those things without waiting for somebody else's dream to match ours. And so by doing every aspect, the electronics, the design, the metal shaping, the body and the paint, the upholstery, the audio system, I mean, everything, the dyno tuning at this point, I mean, everything is done literally in-house to where I don't have to send it out. And that gives us the opportunity to be completely creative. It gives me control over time, logistics, design, and quality.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Collision Vision driven by Auto Body News. As always, I'm your host, Cole Strandberg. I am thrilled to announce our latest series, and it's something very, very different than anything we've done before. The Art of Restoration. With SEMA just around the corner, we're bringing the who's who of custom cars and classic car restorations, and we're starting with one of the very biggest names in the industry, Dave Kindig. Dave is an industry giant and an insanely talented artist, as well as just a great guy to speak with. The passion he has for what he does, and that is, of course, creating some of the coolest cars you have ever seen, is absolutely contagious. I had the opportunity to meet Dave at SEMA last year, so it's fitting we spent a lot of time talking about SEMA this year, as well as some of his favorite builds, his inspirations, how he's built a world-class team, and a whole lot more. Enjoy the show. Dave Kindig, thank you so much for joining us today on the Collision Vision.
Thanks for having me.
Looking forward to an awesome conversation. As we were just talking about off camera, it's everyone's favorite time of year here coming up, and that, of course, is SEMA. Want to dive way into what you have going on, which I know is a ton. I want to start first. We met last year at SEMA. I got to know you just a little bit. Look forward to getting to know you a little bit better. You've been a force in the custom car industry for years, but I do want to take it back to the beginning. When did you first realize that cars were your passion?
Oh, geez. Probably about the age of 5, Legos, Hot Wheels. I was just big time into them. And later on got into plastic model cars. And of course, just always loved drawing because I was very impatient. The glue takes way too long to dry. And I figured out, doing designs on paper was a lot faster to be able to, envision what the chop top might look like on this type of car, what the wheels might look like and so forth. And so that was just a lot more satisfying to, kind of to feel that want and need to see what something might look like. So that was my formal training, and I kept it all the way through.
Love it, man. That's awesome and fun to see where that's evolved into. What were some of your early influences in car design?
Actually, it's a funny story, and a lot of high-end builders might not say the same thing that I do, but and I'm a little bit older. There was a TV show on Saturday mornings, Captain Kangaroo, oddly enough. And a lot of people are going to probably get a laugh out of this. George Barris was on there with Captain Kangaroo, and he's talking about how to do plastic model cars. And he had this Ford Econoline truck that he pulled out of the box, and he's showing some tricks like taking a wood or a steel hanger and folding it up and putting it inside the body so you could hold it and paint it without painting your hand. And I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. I'm just getting like all these ideas and my mind's getting blown. I think I was probably about 12, maybe 13. And at the end of him showing how to do this model, he pulled out one that was done. And I was like, wow, boom, my mind was blown. But that wasn't it. George Barris then turned around and he says, we'd use a model like this to create the actual vehicle. And the curtain opened up and then full life-size wheel stander with the engine in the back, candy apple red, Ford Econoline truck. It was all chopped and customized, was sitting right there. And I was like, that's it. I am all in, always.
Hooked. How cool.
So,
how cool.
Yeah, that was huge. That was a huge inspiration for me.
That's so cool. And from a career trajectory, I want to talk about your entrepreneurial ventures, but where did you go before then? Because, and to provide a little context, so many of our listeners traditionally, though I think the SEMA series is going to broaden that listener base a little bit, is collision repairs, where cars are a passion, but they're also kind of a job. They're not getting to do the fun stuff. Where did your career trajectory kind of take you?
Well, it's funny. So I grew up with no older brother or sister that was building cars in the driveway. No dad around pretty much the entire time I was growing up. And so to figure things out, I just had to kind of do it myself, and got into Volkswagens after breaking my arm at just under 16 years old. I was on a skateboard trying to impress chicks on a half pipe, and it didn't work out very well for me.
As one
Which
does.
actually I could probably take that back because it forced me into the car thing, and that seems to have worked out okay. So, but yeah, basically, I never worked in a body shop, never went to school for it. I was actually in the Volkswagen Club, and I wanted to build my own cars and figure out stuff because I couldn't afford to pay anybody else to do it. And I was very passionate about, wanting a low custom painted car and just something that looked cool. And so I just kept surrounding myself with people in the Volkswagen Club that knew how to do certain things. And I would just watch them and then go home and practice on my own cars. And, fast forward, I guess I kept practicing and I kept getting better at it. And pretty soon people wanted me to build their cars. And I was working at High Performance Coatings for 8.5 years for Jeff Holm. Gave me a lot of opportunities to meet a lot of great people in the industry, such as Chip Foose, Boyd Coddington, Troy Trepanier, Bobby Alloway. I mean, all of these great builders were out there, and I was like, I want to be cool like them one day. But I mean, it was obviously just a big dream. Fast forward again, I got discovered with my renderings actually just hanging in my office at HPC. And pretty soon I got an opportunity to do some designs for other shops. Those vehicle designs were in Super Chevy High Performance, Truck and Magazine. And pretty soon everybody outside the state thought I was a designer or a big deal in Utah. And everybody in Utah thought I was a big deal outside of Utah. And it just kind of snowballed, where finally I just told my wife, I was like, I really want to just draw cars for a living and sell parts and do graphics. And so she finally, after my second kid was born, Drew was born 2 weeks later, I was on my own. Seemed perfectly smart and sensible, right? $4,800 after 8.5 years of a career that I cashed in my 401k, a house payment, 2 little babies, and a wife and no insurance.
Man, well, they say fortune favors the bold, right? Talk about bold. A couple things there. You mentioned the term a little cool and what you're doing and what you got into. I think that might be the understatement of the year. It's very cool. And I want to get into some of those projects that you've worked on and are working on. Another thing too there, you mentioned kind of your inspiration, your mentors, people who paved the way. How does it feel being that to a whole new generation of folks in the automotive industry? Do you ever take time to reflect on that?
I actually do enjoy thinking about that, because to be honest with you, there's no reason that I should be where I'm at right now. I'm a welfare kid off the wrong side of the track with basically a long line of people that didn't really have a lot of education or drive to go and do something like what I'm doing. And I have a wonderful family, don't get me wrong, but being surrounded with people that were content with whatever just came down the road, I was just never that way. I think I just really I seen something greater, and also, I literally found myself quite a few times just going, how is it that guy gets to do what he's doing, and how did he get there? What makes him so special? And I started thinking about it. I was like, nobody's born like that. You have to drive, you have to want to go get it, and you have to be hungry to do it. And I finally, it snapped really in my head that anything can happen as long as I want it to. And if I had never conceded that I couldn't fail, I wouldn't. And here we are 25 years later in a multi-million-dollar business with a huge backlog and great friends and clients, wonderful people I get to work with. Most of my family works here, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. So my advice to anybody that wants to go and think outside of the box is to just go and do it. I know I'm going to sound like George McFly, but literally if you put your mind to anything, you can accomplish everything. And so I'm a true believer that really the only person who can hold you back is yourself.
Love that. And a great story, and a true testament to that story is where you are today. Talk to me about how Kindig Design came to be and what that entrepreneurial journey has looked like. You mentioned the tremendous success you guys have had and are continuing to have. How has that, how fulfilling to build your own brand has that been?
Oh, it's unbelievable. I mean, to have the opportunities we've had over the last 25 years, Starting out at the very beginning, there was a lot of reasons that we could have easily been out of business just as fast as we got into business. And when I look back, I think about, other shops having the issues of robbing Peter to pay Paul, and that they're not, that they get too upside down. They forget to save the tax money or charge the tax money, and then they're liable for it. Buying equipment, having too many loans out there where you just don't make enough money to pay for all your equipment. I learned very early because of other people I just knew that were in the kind of industries that I wanted to be into, that to make sure that I wasn't robbing Peter to pay Paul, and that if I had money, to take advantage of that and invest it back into the company, not just go out and buy a new car, and so that really worked out to where I've got 42 employees now. In the beginning, it was 3 of them, and we were dying from the next job rather to get in at the very beginning, and we just stayed patient. Again, we never conceded that we'd fail, and we worked really well together. And I also found out that doing all aspects of the car, even though I had no idea how to do upholstery, or I really wasn't doing a whole lot of interior design. I was doing some, but being able to do the entire project and from start to finish in all aspects truly gave us the ability to dream big and to be able to accomplish those things without waiting for somebody else's dream to match ours. And so by doing every aspect, the electronics, the design, the metal shaping, the body and the paint, the upholstery, the audio system, everything, the dyno tuning at this point, everything is done literally in-house to where I don't have to send it out. And that gives us the opportunity to be completely creative. It gives me control over time, logistics, design, and quality. And that has always been my biggest thing, is design and quality, and taking care of the client. Many of my clients are own multiple of my cars, which is really an honor, because I don't have to teach them what it's like to have a one-off car built. It's just time and materials with no quote, or how much it's going to cost. We don't know until we're done. And more importantly, they have the trust in us because they've already got that experience. So I really value my clients. They're very great friends. They're definitely part of my family and my team.
Man, such a cool answer there. So many of the people I talk to are business people. So many are artists in their own right? The magic happens when those two combine. And so I appreciate you sharing a little bit about the business side as well as the art side and the fun stuff, because it's a very, very cool, rare, and unique combination there. This episode is brought to you by Thryv. Ready to hit the gas on growth? Meet Thryv, the do-it-all small business software that can save you over 20 hours a week. Attract customers, manage day-to-day tasks, and keep communication simple with one powerful tool made for your auto business. Rev up your revenue today and let Thryv save you time so you can get back to doing what you love. Visit thryv.com, that's THRYV.com, to schedule a demo today. I'd be remiss not to dive into some conversation on your big award from earlier this year, the Riddler Award. And I want to talk a little bit about that award-winning build. If I have my notes correct, that was a 1953 Corvette V12, won the Riddler Award. Can you take us through the journey of that build, and from your perspective, what made it special?
Well, you've talked about the very top of the crest of the frosting on top, the frosting that has the letters of saying happy birthday or whatever it is. Man, it's a 4.5-year project. Great opportunity. A good friend of ours and repeat client, Dave Maxwell, had hit me up to build him a car to go to Detroit and compete for the Riddler. And of course, I've designed other cars before that, we've had good success. We've had a couple of grade 8s, but it was just cars I designed for other shops. And I've, of course, long since stopped doing design work for other people because we're just simply so busy here. But that opportunity to build something, it was funny, as I said, well, I would love the opportunity, Dave. But, I always waited for the right guy to build a car for, and this is the first opportunity I've got. I said, what do you want to build? And he says, I don't know. I was like, he goes, do you have any designs? I said, well, I have a lot of ideas. It's like, yeah, let me let you know what I'm thinking, and we'll get together in a couple of weeks and let's talk about it. So I had been working on the CF1 designs, and of course we've modernized a 53 Corvette styled vehicle. And I had an idea that I wanted to build a coupe, but they never made a coupe in 1953 or in any of the C1 Corvettes. So I had put this design together, and I said, "What do you think?" And he goes, "This is really beautiful." And he sat there and he looked at it, and he goes, "Gosh, this is gorgeous." He goes, "But Dave, do you think a fiberglass car could win the Detroit Autorama Riddler?" And I said, "I'm not going to build it out of fiberglass." And he goes, "What are you going to build it out of?" I said, "Aluminum." And he goes, "You're going to build the whole body out of aluminum by hand?" And I was like, "Yeah." Fast forward, originally that car would have been on a chassis. Got back here and like in good fashion, Kindig design. I have a lot of guys that have been here for a long time. Will, Kevin, the whole gang. And we started talking, and I was like, they were like, "What do you want to power it with?" And I said, "Well, originally 1953 Corvette only had a straight 6. I'd like to double that. Let's do a V12." Knowing the company in Australia, Racecast, that had been doing the V12 LSs, basically we called them and they gave us the opportunity to do some design work. So we signed an NDA. We redesigned the block to have no webbing, no motor mounts, none of that stuff. And then doing that, we started talking about F1 and IndyCar styled single lateral coilover suspension, both front and rear, long control arms, one-off uprights or spindles is what a lot of people would call them. Some of the fine details. And pretty soon Will goes, "It'd be really cool. Why don't we just make this a unibody car with no chassis?" And I was like, "That's kind of cool." We'd use the backbone would be consisting of an 8-speed Tiptronic transaxle out of a 2017 Z06 Corvette, torque tube and a heavier wall, custom bell housing that houses not only the starter, but it also houses the alternator. There is no accessory drive in front of the engine. And then of course, the V12, and then all of the suspensions mounted to the engine and the nose cone up front and over the transaxle in the back. So pretty soon we now have a very simplified, complicated build of a unibody with a V12, and the rest is kind of craziness and history.
Man, I know the real gearheads listening are going to hate me for not asking some more specific questions on the technicals, but your knowledge is so...
There's so many details of that car. I don't think you have enough time today for the entire rundown of that build. I mean, every last part of that car was custom built. Every nut and bolt is custom built. The only thing that looks like it came out of a box and actually went into the car is the Haltech computer. It's all CAN bus. That's under the dash. You'll never see it. But everything in that car is crazy. Our Stratasys MC450 3D printer was running nonstop for about 2.5 years, just building parts for that car. So it's crazy.
Love that, man. So cool. And I'm happy you gave me an excuse not to dive further in. And it's not my own ignorance. It's time, guys. Listen to Dave on this. Well, very cool. Absolutely incredible. You mentioned something there early on in what made this vehicle special. And it's a component of what I think likely you'd credit to making a lot of your vehicles special. And that's your team. And I want to dive into your team a little bit. But first, what does winning an award like the Riddler mean to you and your team? And how does it influence future projects?
Well, there's not a guy here in the shop that had ever worked at a shop that had won the Riddler before. And so everybody knowing what the Riddler was, that's like winning the Oscar for Driving Miss Daisy. I mean, that might be kind of a corny thing to say, but everybody always wants to win that particular award. That is the highest award that you can win in our industry. And to win that and to be congratulated by the judges of how well the car was put together. Other people that had won before, JF Lanier, great friend of mine up in Canada. If you remember, he won with the yellow 65 Riviera Fastback. Chip Foose, a wonderful friend of mine, just a very talented guy in all aspects. I had the opportunity to walk around the car for an hour with him and give him a little bit of inspiration, which was extremely inspiring to me. I've always been a huge fan of Chip, and he's just a wonderful person, a wonderful soul, and an awesome artist. I mean, bar none, nobody can take anything away from Chip. And to have that camaraderie from him and inspiring him to get back into the game, I think it was really, really kind of cool. I mean, he's just he's a top-notch guy. The judges were more than generous by showing us the results on our scorecards, and they said they had never judged that fine of a car before, which was just amazing. So the 8 things they found, I was like, well, I know about double that, but I'm not going to tell you where it's at. But we were so particular, and we spent the time to build the car properly. We have a great crew that's worked together for a long time, and I certainly attribute the successes of that car for everybody that gave their hard work to the car.
Man, how cool is that feedback to get? At what point did the weight of what you guys created kind of hit you? Was there a light bulb moment where you're like, wow, this is it. This is the one?
Only at the beginning is the only time that was the light bulb. And then it was hit the ground running. And even though we experienced COVID during the process of all of that, which actually ran the timeline a little bit longer than we wanted to, we expected to be about 2.5, maybe 3 years. And we were 4.5 years because of the delays we ended up 3D printing the motor to put in the car so we could continue the build because we were that far behind on that. And there were so many one-off casted aluminum pieces that we were incorporating into the build. And those were being sand casted in Australia with our designs up here. The billet machine parts were being done here and then sent down to Australia. So we had a lot of logistics in that, moving the stuff around. But like I say, it was crazy. The time frame in which that we built that car was something. But we did, because of our experience working together, we were able to pull it off.
Oh, how great, man. To hear your passion for this specific project as well. It radiates from you about what you do in general, but very cool for that much hard work and pushing through to get that kind of result and all that to come to fruition. So congratulations on that formally. I want to zoom out a little bit and talk about kind of the art and the science of custom car building. And I know there's a ton of different components to that. Something that's, from a business standpoint, I think going to resonate with our body shop listeners is sourcing the right car for a project and figuring out where to start. What do you look for in a car when starting a new build?
Well, I'm always hoping, if you ask Kevin, he'd be like, yeah, Dave is the worst guy to ever find a car to build. Because it always seems that, I always find one that looks really good, and we get it back from a chemical dip and it's got rust and holes and repairs everywhere. And it's like, I don't know. I haven't had the car in my pocket for 58 years. Right. So, but trying to buy, a lot of times spending a little bit more money and getting a better car, a more complete car. Certainly if you're doing a resto mod where it's going to incorporate the original trim around the windows, side trim, bumpers, grills, that type of stuff, you're better off, honestly, to buy a better car that's got better conditioned parts that would be really impossible to find. If you're going to modify everything, a lot of times you can get away with less trim, more good sheet metal. So that's kind of the trade-off. There is no secret sauce to this, though. It's kind of hit and miss, because if you're buying a car that's in bare metal, of course, you can see everything there. But you also have to worry about somebody else getting into the metal and doing a crappy job on the metal work, because now you're starting with something that's not perfectly shaped but has holes in it. Now you've got something that's out of shape and maybe doesn't have holes. You're not really saving any time. So buy a better, more complete car, spend a little bit more money on that side, and you have a lot less money to spend on restoring it.
You mentioned earlier on kind of the business side, the tools, the equipment, everything that goes into that. How important are the right tools, and is the right equipment for ensuring the build time's efficient, the final product's top notch, that you're putting together a generally great outcome for your clients?
Well, in the early days, there was always the opportunity to subcontract to somebody else, because I didn't have a CNC machine at the time, or I didn't have a 3D printer. Really, one of the most important things, and I love all my sponsors and my partners in this industry, the very most important part of any of that machinery is somebody that can run it. Once you have somebody that can run it, then you know what products to buy, what tools and so forth. But we've got our partnership with Stratasys, our 3D printing. We do a ton of that. We've got this awesome 10-foot by 5-foot Cam Master plotter table. It's basically a CNC router table, 3-axis. So we build all the door panels for the CF1s on that. We've got a Haas CNC machine, a couple of Fadals. We use those for the door handles, as well as building all of the one-off parts, either for the one-off builds or doing production parts for our CF1 program. The GFS paint booth, our paint booth and our prep deck is like top of the line art, state of the art. In our main booth, we were also set up with a carbon filtration system because I design and develop all the colors for Modern Classic based on Sickens, but I have to be able to mix those colors and see what they look like. And of course, when we develop that stuff, it's easier to see what the color is going to be when it's wet in a can with urethanes, not waterborne. And so the waterborne stuff looks like a milk chocolate shake until it dries, and then all of a sudden it's green. It's like, wow, I had no idea. So the start to finish developing the colors comes a lot easier, obviously, with with urethanes, and we have that carbon filtration system. So we're actually legal to still spray that. So equipment, number one, we're in a very close number two. The people is the number one. You got to have somebody to run it. You can have all the cool machines. You can buy that if you have a lot of money, whatever. But if you don't have somebody to run it, the machines are no good. So
that's it, man. And you're a pro because you set me up with the perfect segue. I want to dive more into the people. Obviously, yeah, you know what you're doing. Obviously, finding the best team is essential, and you've done a very good job of building that team. How do you view that, the talent piece, and how do you view building and maintaining a team that shares your passion and brings wisdom maybe outside of your strengths to the table?
Well, that is by far the most difficult part of the 25-year journey that I've been on, is to try and find enough of the right people. I've got the everybody here belongs here. They all have a special spot that they provide to the team. The problem is I've got more work than I can still get done. I literally have almost an 8-year backlog. In the CF1 program, the next car available is number 30. I've sold 29 of those. Number 30 will deliver late third quarter, early fourth quarter of 25. And so we're moving through those really quick. We're trying to speed up the production on those because not only are we a one-off hot rod shop and high-end, customizer, but we also are now a manufacturer. I've actually been licensed as a manufacturer. So, we're continuing to add to that line and still continue to build the custom cars. I have a second building that I bought in 2018, about 3 blocks from here. And it literally has 5 3-car high bend packs and 2 4-posts loaded with good clients' cars and a couple of my own. And our 18-wheeler stays in there. And then we have backstock for like our t-shirts and detail kits and stuff over there. But it literally is filled with cars waiting to still get in here.
Man, how cool is that? Again, it just has to reaffirm how you feel about what you and your team have built. What a testament to what you guys are doing. That's crazy. I would imagine culture is huge, both in your business and in your industry. I know that's something that we talk about a lot in Collision. It's hiring talent, it's retaining talent. In Collision, it's a little less sexy than what you do. So maybe it's a different story and a different answer, but what strategies do you use to keep your motivation and passion and your team's motivation and passion alive throughout some of these long projects and the day-to-day grind of what you do?
Well, jokingly, I would tell you I have embarrassing pictures and knowledge of everybody that works here. And if they leave, no,
hey, that would be whatever
really
works.
Awkward and extremely wrong to say. So I won't say that. Again, that's by far one of the most difficult parts of our industry. In the Collision, I think that's a little bit different. And unfortunately, somebody waves 30 cents more per flagged hour and they're out. And in my industry, I pay them by the hour. The compensation I feel is very competitive for what other people make in other industries or in like industries as this. As far as a hot rod shop goes, I think I probably have some of the best benefits. We have 401k. We do healthcare, dental, vision, accrued vacation. I think we're very progressive because really when we do find the right person, we want to hang on to them, which has always been difficult in almost any industry, but certainly in the automotive industry, it just seems like that kind of goes hand in hand, almost like in construction. Just a slight bump and somebody will jump and go to the next guy. And it's unfortunate, but luckily for us, what we're doing here is not Collision in that sense. Whereas if they're passionate about custom cars, they're getting an opportunity to build some of the finest cars that you'll see at the car show or in collections. And people will talk about them for generations. And that's what I'm hoping that resonates with the guys that are having the opportunity to work with us and with me. I value everybody that's here, though. I got great guys that come in and say good morning to everybody every day. And I'm excited to see them. I'm excited to see what they're building and what we're doing and to continue doing that. is a life's dream.
Very cool, man. That is awesome. And I want to talk more about keeping that inspiration and innovation alive in custom car design. You have writer's block. You have occasional days, I'm sure, of lacking the innovation that you've had throughout your career. Where do you look for inspiration when you struggle to find it on your own?
A lot of times I find inspiration. I don't really pre-plan a whole lot. I'd start talking to a client and then things just start to kind of pop into my head. Usually on the first design consultation, and we already know what kind of car we're going to build at this point, I start talking with the client about what they like, what they don't like. And then within 5 minutes, I'm already driving that car. I'm envisioning it going up and down the street. I know the interior, exterior contrast. I know what the car smells like, sounds like, stance is. I guess I've always had a very active imagination, and I'm able to broadcast that back within, 16, 20 hours with a double view of what the car is going to look like, front 3/4, rear 3/4. And gives the opportunity for me to show what it is that I've been selling or explaining to you what we're going to build. It gives them the opportunity to look at it and go, man, I really like that. And then once they say, oh yeah, that's what we're doing. As a matter of fact, hang on 1 second here. It was just earlier doing up another rendering for another CF1. It's going to be a really kick-ass candy styled red. It's just a base coat clear coat. A really beautiful Ferrari Coolio tan leather. It's a saddle, but it's a little bit darker. And the black top, and then the gold wheels, gold engine, gold wheels, gold dash. It's going to look kick-ass.
Man, I love it, man. I get goosebumps looking at stuff like that, and to think about how the inspiration just hits you after, I'm sure you mentioned envisioning it. It's funny to hear you say that. It's like pro athletes, golfers envision the putt going right into the cup, or baseball players envision throwing that perfect pitch on strike 3. It's the same thing. And part of it's got to be mindset, and I think that's a superpower.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And I think that, honestly, whether it's something you're doing passionately or just anytime you're going to try and accomplish something, I found myself doing that over the weekend with some stables that I'm building with my son. I was like, okay, I know exactly how I'm going to put these together. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And I just thought about it. I built it in my head for about 20 minutes before I even got out of bed. Got out of bed, hit the ground running, and we had that done within a day. Just doing the fine details the next day. And so it really could have taken it easily a week. We did it in a day because I had an envision of how I was going to put it together, how to organize the time, who to use. And, and now I also put my foot down. And I was like, I'm the leader. We're not going to debate who's got a better idea. This is the way we're going to do it. We just got it done. So
love it. Love it. Love it. I say it all the time on the Collision Vision, typically in a different scenario, but if you start with the end in mind, it's going to increase the efficiency of getting to where you want to be, and make sure every single step you take is purposeful and moving in the right direction. You've built a lot of special vehicles. How do you determine in your mind what makes a car truly special?
When the end of the day is that you are in love with that car just as much as the person that paid you to build that car. I think that is the payday. Truly, the money's going to come. That's the byproduct of doing what we do. I'm in it for the art. And when you think about it that way, you're no longer focused on the money part of it. If you're doing a good job and you have your set up to do the type of work, and it's time and materials, you're working off deposits, you're not trying to hurry so you can get a paycheck from them. My business is a little bit unique in that sense, where we work off of deposits. But when you have that ultimate vision, you have that camaraderie between the person that's paying the bill that absolutely loves what you're doing, and to see it finished and have everybody with smiles on their face, and that it's not just me, it's not just the client, it's my guys, it's everybody. And then of course, when people see the car outside of anybody that was involved in building or paying for the car or owning the car, that seeing that look on their face when they're like, man, I've been around this car 3 times and I just noticed this and that and the other. It's like, man, how do you do that? That's the biggest rewards for me, is when people realize all of the things that we did.
Man, what a great outcome when that happens. Has to just make you feel incredible. The adrenaline rush of having your client see that finished product for the first time has to be unlike anything else in the world.
Yeah. Oh yeah, by far. It was funny when Dave came out about a month before the car was finished to go to Detroit. He was down in Scottsdale at Barrett Jackson, and he flew up just to check out the car. He's got his own jet, so he flew up, and I picked him up, and I brought him over, let him go under the car. I put this gentleman on a creeper and slid him under the car. He wouldn't come out from underneath it. He was like, "This is like a different world under here. You know, it looks like a spaceship." It was just really cool. I pulled him out, and I'm taking him back to his plane. And he says, "Dave, this is really cool." He says, "I want to build more stuff with you." He says, "How do you top that?" And that's when it hit me. I was like, I checked every box. I mean, literally, I was like, I have no idea how I'm going to top this car. I've since figured it out, but I won't let that out of the bag right now. But
I was going to say,
I have no idea how I would actually top this car. It's like, this is a dream come true to build this quality of car at this level and have all the support from the guy that's paying the bill and just having fun with it. So
you sort of joke about it, but on a real level, when you finish something that you have to feel is as close to perfection as humanly possible, does that give you stress on what the heck do I do next? How do I ever get there?
To try and make sure I don't lose that quality. It's like, well, you built that one really good, and then this one's what happened? No, because I think every one of those things is another notch in our hat. I don't know if that's the right way to. I was going to say in the bedpost, but I don't think that's appropriate. So it's another feather in the cap. That's what I was looking for, not a notch. Yeah, so my bad. But anyway, yeah, I mean it's one of those things where every time you perfect your craft and your art, and you get the opportunity to do it again, you already have the recipe of how to do it properly. And so the challenge is to just not try not to be in a hurry and then miss a mark. You know, we don't do that. We always keep our quality control for exactly what it is that we want to be seen, putting out there into the public. And the next car, the biggest challenge for us is to how to top the last one. How do we make it better and more efficient and perform better? You know, the beginning days where we were building a lot of ISCA competing show cars, it was all about the show. We weren't really too concerned about making the cars drive down the road. Now, I'm not going to tell you this Riddler car, 12 Air, is going to just drive down the road, no problem. It's very low, and it looks cool. But the cars that we're building outside of that particular build, everybody wants to drive their cars now. And so that's another thing for us where we put a couple 100 miles on every car before we send it away. Because I call it valet proof. I want it to break down on me before I send it to you and then have to bring it back all the way across the country because something went wrong with it. So we're very, very much about driving the cars and enjoying them. That's a lot of money to spend for a lawn jockey, as I always say.
Well put. It's something that a lot of people I don't think about. The livability component. These are pieces of art, but they're also functional performance machines.
Exactly.
Very cool. And to the topic that we're really talking about this month, and we're finally getting here for you. You have a pretty big SEMA 2024 coming up. What can we expect from you this year?
So I actually have a list here, and we're still actually building all of them, which is funny. But I've got a few of my CF1 Corvettes that are going to go. I've been trying to do a new style or a new thing about the CF1s every year. This year, because of the 12 Air project, we're a little bit behind on production of the third body style, which will be out soon. I'll give you a little hint on that. But we've got some CF1s. I'm going to take my 63 convertible Volkswagen Beetle that I'm building. That's my personal car. I'm really excited about having that car finished up and in there. Of course, we'll have 12 Air. The Riddler winner is going to be in the inside booth at Axel Nobel, which is Sickens. And we've got a vehicle going in Borla exhaust. We've got one going over in Dynamat's booth. We haven't determined which one's going to go in there yet because I'd like to leave the interior out so we can show off the kick-ass sound deadening material that we use. And make a nice display for those guys. So we've got, I think we're at 8 cars right now. 58 Corvette, that's another one that's going to be there. That'll be in Borla's booth. And yeah, so I'm on my last weekend until after SEMA.
You're a busy man. In my notes, I had 6 cars from you. So
yeah, I think we're at 8 now.
You're an animal. You are an animal. That is awesome, man. Very, very cool. Well, what I'd like to do, I'm not going to ask you to memorize it, or if you do, that'd be crazy, but I want to link in the show notes information on where folks can track you down at SEMA and come visit all these different builds. As I mentioned, you and I spent some time together last year at your rig, and I do want to talk about what we talked about there very briefly as well, and that's your partnership with Axo Nobel and your Modern Classic line. How has that influenced your business, your recent builds? Give a shout out to that line.
Oh, well, I'll tell you what, the partnership has been second to none. I've had the best luck, not only, developing custom colors and stuff and getting the opportunity to do that, and also being able to offer it to the public. I mean, that's pretty special in itself. But the relationship that I've had, the ability for Axo Nobel and Sickens to be able to produce a product that actually works, performs, and doesn't go backwards, I think is immeasurably important for our industry and for everybody that uses paint. I've had just wonderful success with Sickens, Axo Nobel, working with that company to create the Modern Classic line. They've been there supporting me 100% the whole time. I've got 54 colors, I think, right now, 50, maybe 56. That are available in the Modern Classic by Kindig line, which also you can check out our website. It'll give you so much more information than I could probably even give you at this minute. But if you go to my website, contagious.com, I'll answer that second part of the question. You can get all of the information about Modern Classic, Sickens, as well as my schedule for the SEMA show. So I've got a lot of great friends and partners. We'll have our big 18-wheeler will be out front of the convention center. Right by the escalators, you can't miss it, right between Central and South Hall, out front. And then also we've got vehicles in the main building, Dynamat, Borla, and of course Axo Nobel, Sickens. So yeah, we're anywhere you turn, I think you're going to see a Kindig car this year, though.
I have no doubt about that, man. Excited to see it myself. What kind of content are you working on right now? Where can people get more of you if this hasn't quite scratched the Dave Kindig itch?
Well, if you still have an itch, there's a cream that they actually make that'll get rid of that. So anyway, yeah, no, we've been filming season 11. It's no secret. Bitch and Rides will be back out this October. We've got 20 episodes, 8 of which is about the build of the Riddler. So if you're intrigued about seeing how we went about building that car from flat 4x10 sheets of aluminum, definitely stay tuned. It's going to get much more interesting. Got great builds for the rest of the season as well. Yeah, I mean, go to condigit.com, no hyphen. Yeah, it's just kindigit.com. You can go in there, check out our swag, check out the gallery with all of the latest builds, also the schedule of where we're going to be making appearances. In fact, this weekend, we've got the Triple Crown in Nashville, so that's going to be really fun. I'm actually on a plane tomorrow to get out there and get set up. We're very excited for the second annual Triple Crown. We had a great time last year, and we won one of the Triple Crowns with Kevin Hart's car, which was really cool. So it was an honor.
Man, I feel like I can't say congratulations enough during this recording, but seriously, man, congrats on all the continued success. Look forward to seeing you out at SEMA. I'm going to put a bunch of links in the show notes to make that easy on everybody. Should be an awesome time. Dave, appreciate your time. Always a pleasure speaking with you.
Thanks, Cole. You too, buddy. Take care. Say hi to everybody. Oh, I'm going to say hi to everybody. Hi, everybody. See you soon.
Thank you again to Dave Kindig for joining us here on the Collision Vision for what I hope you felt was a fantastic conversation. I know I certainly did. The guy's obviously a brilliant artist, but he's also such a dynamic communicator, a great business person, and just seems like a solid guy. If you'll be at SEMA, be sure to check Dave and his builds out. 8 of them. Going to be incredible. That's all for today's episode of the Collision Vision. If you enjoyed it and are enjoying our latest series, The Art of Restoration, please be sure to hit that subscribe button wherever you enjoy your podcast and on YouTube, where the Collision Vision lives in video form. As always, on behalf of the Auto Body News team and myself, thank you for coming along for the ride.